Okay, part 2, book of Micah. So we're going to look at chapter 2 here in a couple verses. If we look at verse 4, it says, on that day, he will recite a parable about you. He will lament. See, you read this again, Stone's Tanakh, and they put all these words, he and they, and you don't know who. You look at the words in Hebrew, and it's like, it doesn't necessarily say that. So it's the translator's privilege to just make it say whatever they want it to say. So if you go back and just write down the words and look at them at face value and wrap your mind around it, again, Haggah, meditate, think about it, ponder it, and just do your own study. On that same day, he will lift up your success, prosperity, as a proverb or an allegory. Well, that's exactly what we're talking about. In Micah 1, each word of each city or each people group mentioned, you can look at it this way, rising up, or this way, lowering down. This is the blessing, this is the curse, this is life, and this is death. It's like each person's name can be positive or negative. Which one are you going to play into? That's basically what he's saying. And then here in Micah 2, verse 4, he's basically saying, yeah, that's the way it works. As a proverb, nun hey hey, then nun hey yod, and then the word nun hey yod hey. Na ha ha, na ha yi, na ha yeha. The same word that means to lament, like, oh, also means to long for eagerly, which is hope, which is enthusiastic. And the lament is like broken-spirited or active-spirited. He's basically saying it's the same allegory that we just looked at in Micah 1 that you can't see unless you look at it. Longing for eagerly, lament, the lament I lament about came to be, but it's also what I longed for earnestly that I was lamenting hasn't happened yet. I've been yearning for. The same three words are derivatives of each other. And then it says, saying, Shin Dalet Vav Dalet, Shadud. Well, Dalet Vav Dalet, that's the word David. But Shin Dalet, that's where you get the word Shaddai, which means like a female breast for giving nourishment, but it's also an evil spirit or a demon of devastation. Well, which is it? It's both. Look in the dictionary. And then the next word, Nun Shin Dalet, Nun Vav. The Nun prefix means this is going to engage. Nun Vav means our, to possess. So here it's saying, our beloved has become our devastation. So here this goes back to the first part of that verse 4, and apparently people, Jacob, Israel, two words later says my people. So the next word is Het Lamed Kuf. We'll look at it in a second. My people, Yod Mem Yod Resh, Emir. Well, Mem Resh is the word for bitter. Mir. Well, that reminds me of the English word mirror, a reflection back at you, like Gimel Mem, but this is Mem Yod Resh. And if you look at the dictionary, again, the derivative study. If you look at Mem Resh, Mem Yod Resh, Mem Resh Hey, Mem Vav Resh, you'll see that it means mirror, exchanged, bartered, like turn the tables. This was yours, this is mine. Hey, look, we barter, we exchange. Now it's the opposite. Just like a mirror reflected image. This is the way it works. Aleph Yod Kaf, the next word, well, Micah, I will strike, but Aleph Yod Kaf, you look in the dictionary, means how, where. It's like, whoa, what's going on? We're beaten by what? It's like, whoa, we don't even know what's going on. He's telling us what's going on. Yod, Mem, Yod, Shin. Well, Mish, Mem, Yod, Shin. Mem, Yod means who. Yod, Shin is. He will, what's going on? Somebody hit me. Who? Like being hit in the dark. You have no idea what's going on or why. It's unfair. God's playing, the devil's playing tricks on me. It's like, Mem Vav Shin, feel, touch, remove. Mem Shin Hey, to draw out. Lamed Yod, the next word, mine, of me or by me. Lamed Shin Vav Bet Bet. Shin Vav Bet is shuv, return, rebel, repent, sit, But it's also, in this case, where you have bet, it means refractory, rebellious, apostate, unruly, mischievous. It's the rebellion of wanting to be Yahweh's people and walking in his ways. And then this word, Shin Dalet Yod Nun Vav. Well, that's another Shaddai, going back to these other two words we're going to look at in a second. Beloved has been devastated. Our Shaddai, that could also be read as our provision, but our destruction. And then the last word, Yod Het Lamed Kuf, like the other word, Het Lamed Kuf, that I paused at here. That's the operative word. Well, Het Lamed Kuf, you look in the dictionary, and it means part, rate, share, a portion, allotted, like your predestiny. It also means smooth or slippery. It means character, dilemma, difference of opinion. What is that talking about? It means that the predestination of Yahuwah's people is that they're given this real nice, smooth, because the word yashar literally means smooth, even, right, straight. The mountains brought low, the valleys brought up, so you can have a highway. Yahweh had all these great plans for my people, but his people exchanged the plans for what he was going to give the enemies of his people. And our destruction, their destruction became our destruction. Our provision became their provision because of Israel's rebellious, unruly, mischievous, that sounds like, smart aleck little kids. It's like, it's way worse than that. Instead of being Shadud, the beloved of El Shaddai, we became these horrible, rotten punk, like teenage kids that fight with their father instead of listening to his voice and doing what he said. This verse, chapter 4, is telling us that because of our attitude about our inheritance, what we yearned for became our lament. Everything that he had promised for us was given to somebody else. The interim squatters, the interim overlords, the interim for a period of time until that time has accomplished its purpose, scattering seeds until the time is right, either because the seed has been conditioned or the world has been conditioned. I've heard that there are places in the world, Middle East in particular is one place, where there's seeds that have been in the ground for thousands of years, waiting for not just one rain, but 2 or 3 rains, in which case the soil is conducive. So all of a sudden the seed will sprout. They'll have a whole field of wildflowers or fruits. Condition has to be just right. And it's just waiting. It's waiting till that day when a certain generation, ours, will come back and listen to his voice. I heard a story once that there was a father and son, and the son was, supposedly it's a true story, the son was graduating from high school, and the father said, "Hey, what would you like? I'd like to get you a graduation gift." And the son said, "Hey, I want this brand new GTO Mustang or something." And graduation day comes, and his father hands him a Bible. And the son had wanted nothing to do with the Bible of his father, and he got mad. He cursed at him, yelled at him, threw the thing down, and left, and never saw his father again. And decades later, there was a funeral, a reading of the will, and there's that Bible, and he opens it up, and inside was an envelope with a key to that car. His dad said something like, "You can have these certain treasures, but to read this word of Yahweh is the greatest treasure. Please have a regard of it." That son turned his back on that great gift both ways because of his rotten, stinking, refractory, unruly attitude. He missed out on his whole life. Relationship with his father's gift was given to somebody else. Verse 4. Verse 5. Therefore, on account of this, Do not allow to exist for yourself. Lo yayi lecha. Now, that same phrase is in Exodus 20, second commandment. Lo yayi lecha Elohim achreim al panei. Do not allow or cause to exist for yourself gods of others, yoked to my face, representing my face, in my space, where I'm looking at you. If you have a gods of others, Elohim achreim, I can't see you. You can't see me. And that's why we need to scrutinize the doctrines. Is Jesus Christ Yahweh? Or is he of Elohim achreim? Who is Yeshua? Who is Yahusha? Who is Yahuwah? My Elohim, my Savior, Redeemer, Deliverer is Yahweh. According to the book of Isaiah, what regard then do I have this guy who rose from the dead? Who is he? What does this mean? This is of such significance. Do not allow for yourself Mem Shin Lamed Yod Kaf, your allegory. If your name is your allegory, for example, Michael. Hey, what does that mean? The one who is the strength, the power and capacity of Elohim. Or does it mean he gets struck by Elohim? What? Which of the two is it? The word Megan, shield, guarded and protected. But mem can mean away from and not in the place. So that means you're vulnerable to be pillaged by any bum on the street. If you're walking alone, it's like, gosh, are you protected or are you unprotected? That's the thing. Everything is this dynamic, this two side, the two faces, the smile and the frown of the theatrical mask. Don't allow your allegory to become your reality. The word chet bet lamed means rope, rigging, measured portion, calibrate, pains, bring to ruin, or to act corruptly by swearing a vow, making a pledge, and then breaking the pledge. Why do people have pledge drives? Pledge to send some money. Yeah, whatever. Get off my back. Yeah, I'll pledge you $20. And then you leave and say, wait a minute. If you swear a vow, you make a pledge and you don't fulfill it, you have tied yourself to pains according to the measured portion that your mouth gave a vow. Even though today in our culture, our words of our mouth don't necessarily mean anything. It's like blah, blah, whatever. In the reality of Yahuwah, the words of our mouth mean everything. It's the measured portion inside this het, this fence, by which our pains will be calibrated. And we bring our own ruin. The next, Bet Gimel Vav Resh Lamed, means relative, Resh Lamed, where we get the word relative or relevant or dependent upon. Gimel Vav Resh Lamed, Gorel, kind of like the word girl, lot, portion, fate, destiny. Talking about fate, destiny, predestination. Bet Gimel Resh, adult, fully grown, ripe. So the idea of saying when the conditions are accomplished, when the 70 years of exile has been fulfilled, when the 2,730 years is fulfilled, when the larva has become fully to the point of now it can morph into the adult phase, or the 3 days and 3 nights were accomplished, now Yahusha can come out of the grave. When Israel, its purpose has been accomplished for it to remain in captivity, for Esau to live as a man of stature, just shake the yoke off of Jacob. That's what this word means. The allotted portion is actualized, is realized. Do not allow to exist for yourself that measured portion that will hold you down. And then the next two words, Bekahal Yahweh, in the assembly of Yahweh. That word kahal is where you get the word church. Translated episynagoge, which became the Greek word for or episynagoge in Greek is the word synagogue or assembly. Don't allow for yourself this negative side of the allegory to dominate you. Well, that's what's happened. So we did allow it. It just happened, and here we are. Verse 6, it says, do not preach. So they preach. No preaching. What? The word tet pay means preach. Tet yod pay, as do children, drip or drop. Tet pay. And then no tet pay, but drip by drop exact. So you could say it means they're telling you, translated, they're telling you, don't preach. But they preach as to children, nothing exact, just general stories, so that Lamed Aleph Lamed Hey, then Lamed Aleph means no, and then Yod Samek Gimel means classification, or it means to remove himself. Yod Samek Gimel means he will remove himself. Kaf Lamed Mem Vav Tav. Well, Kaf Lamed Mem, 3 letters in alphabetic order sequence, means to be put to shame, reproach, or harm. You could read that same word, Kaf Lamed, as all the Mem Vav Tav, dead. To, and you could back up and say, this isn't being preached in church. They preach like to children, nothing exact, so that nobody who wants to take these matters to heart can remove himself from the harm. It'll just keep the children quiet. The classification, Samet Gimel, what is sin? Who is Yahweh? Should we be celebrating Christmas or not? Do we have to eat unleavened bread for a week, really? So we can stop and distance himself from the trouble. That's what it's saying. For anybody to take these matters to heart and say, well, what are you going to do about it? Yeah, but if you start talking about stuff, people are going to think you're a jerk and get mad at you and call you names, and it's like, okay, whatever. Going to Micah 2, verse 7. There's a saying in the house of Jacob, hey, Kuf Zadi Resh, cut short, powerless, Ruach Yahweh. It says, has the Ruach of Yahweh been cut short? It's basically, has God the Father been castrated? Turned into instead of the bull, turned into a steer? Why do I say that? Because the word ayin dalet is testifier, witness. The Moedim are his testifiers of his identity, of his fatherliness. And to cut off the Moedim and replace them with gold and silver orbs on the Christmas tree and the blood red or multi-pastel colored Christmas eggs of the fertility goddess Ishtar, Ashtart, Easter, is to emasculate the Heavenly Father. Then it says, are these accusations? Are these his deeds? Is this him? Is this your God? Really? Look at Christmas, look at Easter, look at all the pagan trappings and saying, is this your God? Look at everything Jesus Christ represents. Is this your God? Is this Yahuwah? Or is it not? When Yeshua validated every single word of the Torah, then to make a God out of Jesus Christ, is that the same? And if you don't want to have me ask the question, if you don't want to ask the question of yourself, then you can't escape the devastation which has already happened, which is coming, because we must determine the truth and have no Elohim Achrim. We have to listen to his voice. Hello, Hey Lamed Vav Aleph, literally pronounced like hello, Dabari, my word. Yod Yod Tet Yod Bet Vav. Tet Yod Bet, a derivative of Tet Vav Bet, which is good, full. It's Tov. With, as long as Hayashar, straight, Hey Vav Lamed Kaf, walk. With the people that walk straight, my word of prosperity and goodness happens because it's given. And for anybody to be told, oh, he did away with all that, he nailed it to the cross, oh, that's ceremonial law, oh, that's moral law, oh, that's civil law, oh, it's like, it's not true. It's not true. Jump ahead to verse 12 of Micah 2. Aleph Samik Pei, Aleph Samik Pei. I heard a guy give a talk many years ago that double speak, saying same words twice is Yahuwah's, you might say, his signature way of talking. Quite often it'll say, you better surely listen, and the word Shema is written twice. One is a derivative. Or if you truly guard, that's shamar with the derivative spelling. So if you look at it in Hebrew, you'll see the same word twice. So it says, Asaph, Esaph, gather, collect, or reap. Like Aesop's fables, that means a collection and anthology. Gathering, I will surely gather, Yaakov, Kaf Lamed Kaf. Kaf Lamed is all or every. Lamed Kaf is to you, or it also means get out. Kaf Lamed is all of, so it could be read as all of you who were kicked out. Kibbutz, a kibbutz. I will gather together. I will certainly, truly, no fail. I'm Yahweh. Shin Aleph Resh Yod Tav. Shin Aleph Resh, that's the word for leavening, leftover, remnant. Israel. Ichad, Yod Chet Dalet. Then Aleph Shin Yod Mem Nun Vav. Well, Nun Vav can mean us. Aleph Shin Yod Mem is the word Shem or place. But Shin Yod Mem Nun is oil. So, and it also, the word like Shemin Atzur, it means put, place, or assess. So it means we who assess. Is that the oil of the 5 bridesmaids? We who assess the value. The next word, Kaf, Zadi Aleph Nun. Well, Zadi Aleph Nun is lambs that are free to roam, like lambs that are out wandering around, because Zadi Aleph means get out. Bet Zadi Resh Hey. Zadi Resh Hey means in an enclosure, but it also means protected, inaccessible from the wolves. It's also the word for gathering grapes. So you pick up the wild grapes and you bring them into your place to the wine press. It also means humbled or lessened. So is it good or is it bad? It's a metaphor, proverb of both sides. Then the word kaf, ayin dalet resh, fail, lacking, missing in action, lost at sea. But it's also hoed lines or arranged in groups. It also means set in order. So just like hoeing a garden, setting things in order, it's a synonym with Shemin, Shin Yod Mem Nun, which is a synonym with Ayin Resh Kaf, which is Eric, which is also the synonym of making sense of what he said and being able to compare it to what we've been told to determine whether it's lies or accurate. So what does it mean to be his people, or what does it mean to be deluded by Elohim Achrim? And apparently, this is the action that the remnant will be doing when Yahweh decides to gather up his people that he scattered across the face of the earth. Micah 2, verse 12. Hadabaru, the matter, or his word, or the pasture, Tav He Yod Mem Nun Hey. Well, Yod Mem Nun, that's the word Yemen, right hand. But Tehom from Genesis chapter 1 means infinite depth, the deep sea. It also means amazing, examine deeply. And it also has to do in the dictionary with regret and self-reproach. And then the last word of verse 12, Mem, Aleph, Dalet, Mem. Well, Aleph, Dalet, Mem is Adam. Mem can mean a prefix, place, or one who. Mem, suffix. And is it Adam? But Mem, Aleph, Dalet means madly. So we could read that as saying, oh, there's the word betok. I didn't mention that earlier. Betok hadabaru ta himana ma'adam. In the midst, toch. Relay, deceit, intervene. Step in between to translate. This is what he said. This is what it means. This is the instructions of previous generation. This is the promised heritage of the future. What generation are we? Who are we? What did he say? What should we be doing with this? Take the words, examine deeply and madly with all your, that's the same word, V'kol lavivka, v'kol nefshaka, uv'kol meodeka. With all your heart, with all your soul, with all your madly. I love her madly. There's a Beatles song or something. No, the Doors. Anyway, verse 13. Promote the Pereshladi. Well, that's where you get the word pirates. Cutting apart, destroy, revolt violently, no restraint. Urge, push, press, spread, extend. Lifneham. Lamed Pe Nun Yod, their face, but it's also sort, kind. Accordingly, He Mem suffix is according to their face. Cut apart or push urgently according to their own face. Paretzan, break through, run, the same word as paretz. Cut apart, vav yod aleph bet resh vav. Well, aleph bet resh, that's the word Hebrew. It's translated trespass or crossing over. Remember the concept of scales of balance, which is the word for mishpat. Whatever you do is going to come back. What you put in the scales of balance, to the one who's righteous, he will get righteousness, victory. If you help the impoverished, the widow, the orphan, then Yahweh of Isaiah 58 will give you the heights of Jacob and promises for everything. It's like the other side of the scale is Hebrew. I'm saying it's a play on words. If you know what the word Hebrew means, it's not just crossover or passover or become pregnant or become angry. It's this and the thing on the other side of the scales of balance. And Shinai and Resh, the next word literally means a gate, a goal, or a measure, which is a synonym with Shaman and Eric and Ayin Dalet Resh. It all goes back to the idea of the mishpat. And then the next word, Vav Yod Zadi Aleph Vav, go out. It's the Exodus, Bet Vav, according to their condition, Vav Yod Aleph Bet, or Ayin Bet Resh, he will cross over, he will Hebrew, he will Mem Lamed Kaf Mem, translated their king, but it's one who takes counsel or one as they walk. If they walk like Hebrews, if they have walked like they have become his people, next word, Lamed Pe Nun Yod He Mem, according to their variety, sort, face, countenance, Vav Yod He Vav He, then the Vav can mean and Yahweh, or it can mean then or when or while. It's a prefix letter Vav connector. And then the last word of the chapter 2, Micah 2, is Bet Resh Aleph Shin Mem. It's translated, and Yahweh is their chief. Rosh, Resh Aleph Shin, head, chief, foundation. Aleph Shin is fire. Shin Mem is name or place. Bet Resh Aleph, the word bara, as in Bereshit bara, Berash, those are the first four letters of Genesis 1:1. Create, fat, recover, healthy, but also clear a forest or hew down a forest with an axe or a chainsaw. You can look at this and say, according as we decide to be, to walk, as according to what he said, then he will mow down the forest, which is also a synonym with Shaddai, which is a devastated, barren, empty field because everything's been cleared away or blown to bits. And he will restore according to what his original plan was, where he says, I've got this dream. I'm going to be your Elohim and you're going to be my people. And if we take that on and have that as our act of hope, that's what gets played into. Okay, just a couple more things here. Very significant. If we then look at Micah 5, verse 2, as it says in Stone Tanakh, therefore he will deliver them to their enemies until the time that a woman in childbirth gives birth. Well, the interesting thing about this is until the time is that very word we were looking at last week, ayin dalet, hyphen, ayin tav. There's a few places in the scripture, this is one of them, where that phrase is used, in Daniel 12:4. Lakan, simply translated therefore, lamed means unto, lamed kaf means to you, kaf nun is the word can, which is yes, so truly. So you could say absolutely for sure. Therefore, yod tav nun means incessant flow, perpetual, permanent, like this flowing river that you can't stop. Nun tav is where you get the word for nun tav nun, which can mean to teach or to give. It's like teach this incessant, perpetual. It's like nobody can stop Ayin Dalet Ayin Tav. If you just read the meaning until the time, but it's this paradigm that we talked about last week. And then these two words, Yod Vav Lamed Dalet Hey, well, that's where you get the word lad, which is child, like the Scottish word for English word lad or laddie. But this is where you get the word lady, somebody who has child gives birth. And it's like, until the time that a lady gives birth, what's he talking about? Well, it goes back to the beginning, talking about like some woman who's pregnant, who's in the travail of pains of childbirth. It's this metaphor saying, I believe what this is saying here, because it's kind of awkward, that let's read the rest of the sentence. Vav Yod Tav Resh. Tav Resh means to seek. Yod Tav Resh means leftover, which is a synonym with Shin Aleph Resh. It was talking about the remnant, like leaven. He will search for the leftovers, the remnants. Achio, his brother. Yod Shin Vav Bet Vav Nun, returning to be yoked with Ayin Lamed B'nai Israel. It's like this picture of this woman in childbirth has to do with the time of the regathering, the reconfederation of the brothers of the children of Israel. That's the time of coming back to this two ways, Ayin Dalet, Ayin Tav. Where's the door? Walk in his ways. Listen to his voice. That's the door. Yeshua was the model. Yeshua made it possible. Yeshua came back out of the grave as the picture of what he promised us to gather back. Promised heritage that other people have taught was done away with. Verse 3, Ve'amad, positioned, established, appointed. Resh Aleph Hey, shepherd. It's also shout, purpose, aim, directed, and associated as companions, the B'nai Israel. Bet Ayin Zion, as glorious, spectacular Oz of Yahweh. This is to the glory of Yahweh, to his grandeur. Bet Gimel Aleph Vav Nun, Gaon, rising tide, genius, excellence, proud to be Shem Yahweh El Hio. Who's he talking about? These brothers who are returning back, Ayin Dalet, Ayin Tav, to be the B'nai Israel, as positioned in his mind to his grandeur. Remember, we read this other verse a couple weeks ago that Yahweh says, this will be for me the matter of rejoicing. This is the rising tide. Vav Yeshavo, he will return, or they will return, Kiata, and now Igadal, magnify, increase, glorify, Ed Aleph Pei Samik Yod, which is the word for expansion, stripes. It's the word for Joseph's coat, which means full coverage, all the way from the fingers to from the wrist to the ankle, the fingers to the toes, full coverage of the earth. Where's the tribulation? Where's the reproach? This is the turnaround. In the turnaround is when he gathers back as B'nai Israel, Yechad Achiv, unified, confederated brothers, all magnifying the Shem of Yahuwah. Verse 4, Haya exists, Za, this, Shalom, peace, full, benefit, welfare. Ashur, that's Assyria. Ki Yavo Be Aretznu, if Assyria comes to our land, there's another way to read this, Veki, and if Yod Dalet Resh Kaf, and if he treads upon our palaces, it's also translated as Aramean, but Vav He Kuf Mem Nun, and if Kuf Mem Nun, it means wither, fade, moldy, or fungus. He Kuf Mem means to confirm, Nun Vav is our. So you could say, even if Assyria or the Arameans come into our land and stomp down our palaces, and Alio raise up their own. Now here's the interesting phrase. Shin Bet Ayin Hey, 7, Resh Ayin Yod Mem, shepherds, Vav Shin Mem Nun, Hey, 8, Nun Samik Yod Kaf Yod, princes of Adam. What is that supposed to mean? So here's Micah 5, verse 4, they will, and this will assure peace. If Assyria comes into our land and if he treads upon our palaces, we will set up 7 shepherds or 8 officers against them. What? 7 shepherds or 8 officers? What are you supposed to do with that? See, the professional translators, the Jews themselves have put this in here for our understanding, and yet I can't understand it. But the word Assyria, Aleph Shin Vav Resh, I will, Aleph, Shin Vav Resh means to align or a tight rope dance. It means to regard or turn aside, to observe or to depart from. We are the ones walking the tightrope. It's not about Assyrian Arameans. If we regard and observe what Yahweh said, we get the palace. If we turn aside and depart, it brings in our enemies. Then the word 7 or 8, the word shepherds, Resh Ayin Yod Mem. Well, Resh Ayin Mem is the word thunderous, violent. It's also companions to think. Resh Ayin, it's also the word evil. Thunderous, violent, indignant complaints. 7 means also, Shin Bet Ayin means to seek, and it's Bet Ayin is bubble or seek, and then it's satisfying the vow. The word 7 is called the holy number because it means to swear a vow. Shabbat, to swear a vow, or the trouble you get for not keeping the vow, making a pledge. So is it 7 shepherds, or is it 7 thundering, violent, indignant complaints because we didn't keep the vow? So we're going to look at that before, right at the end here. What are 7 things, like the 7 thunders in the book of John, or the book of Revelation, where John is told, don't write it down. It's like, so we're going to guess, what might they be? And then the word 8, Shin Mem Nun Hey, but 8 is also to evaluate or consider based on the violent complaints. Whose complaint? Yahuwah's complaint. We have no complaint. All of our complaints are for not knowing the terms of the contract that he has kept. This is talked about in the Song of Moshe, and also a few different places where every time the people of Israel has a complaint against him, he says, look, I've done exactly what I said. What's the problem? The problem is you've been lied to, you didn't understand, and you've done everything I told you not to do. That's why you got the trouble. Just walk in my ways and everything will turn around. It's a perpetual, unceasing flowing instruction. And then this word princes, Nun, Samek, Yod, Kaf, Yod. Well, Yod, Kaf, Yod would be the suffix, but Nun, Samek, Kaf means prince, experience, or experiment. Kaf would mean you, but it also means to weave. And it becomes to become unkosher. It means to pour out this idolatry. And then Aleph, Dalet, Mem, Adam, but it also has to do with Dalet, Mem is blood, or I will bleed. You could say, listen, our bleeding is all because we have had Elohim Achrim, and we've not walked in his ways. Okay, so if there was going to be 7 complaints, try to make a list and say, what might they be? If Yahweh has told us, and you go back to Micah 1, and you can try to determine where's the problem. He always says the same problems. Number 1, well, he says, hear, O Israel, Shema Israel, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad. Hear. Listen. Who is Yahuwah? Our Elohim, he's Echad. Okay, he's not 2 different gods. He's not a God with 2 faces or 3 faces, maybe 22 faces of the 22 letters. The point is he's Echad, but what does that mean? Who is he? So Shema is the first, listen, who is he? Guard what he said. Don't have any other Elohim. And then he says, trust, hope, expect, and have no fear. And quit lying, killing, and stealing from each other. And then there's that famous line, give thanks to Yahweh. So we don't give thanks. We grumble and complain and accuse him of false things. And if these are the 7 things, top of my head, based on things I read, those are his basic complaints every single time. Well, guess what? There's 7 complaints, 7 thundering voices. There's 7 parts of the Mishkan pattern. So how might that fit? And if I would say the big white fence with the 4 colored join the colors, man the crew, do what he said, blue, purple, red, white, the gold thread. That's like the big white fence. That's love Yahweh with all your heart and all your soul. Okay, who is he? What's his identity? Inside might say the barbecue grill is, hear my voice. Just listen to my instructions. Okay. And if you listen to his voice and you take it to the heart where you don't allow Elohim Achrim, place of the laver, taking it to heart, the mem nun, and then just do what he said. Shamar, walk in his ways, like the samech, like the menorah, and the ayin, the table of showbread, Yom Kippur. Blessed are the merciful, for they will have mercy. What goes around comes around. Quit lying, killing, stealing, walk in upright ways. That's what Micah is about. Micah 6:8, I believe, is the one where he says, he goes on to say, do you think we have to offer up our firstborn and offer all these sacrifices and cattle? He says, he told you what is good. Micah 6:6, do I have to approach with all these burnt offerings? And he says, do justice, love kindness, walk humbly with your Elohim. Just do what he said. And give thanks. You might say with quiet heart of saying, all right, with that, carry on with trusting him, hoping, expecting, without fear. The only way we can do that is to know who he is and know that we have this eternal covenant that cannot fail, will not fail. It's the paradigm of this Ayin Dalet, Ayin Tav. Understanding what the letters mean, understanding that there's a door that's either open or closed, whether we choose to play into the blessing, play into the curse, choose life, choose death. It's up to us to proactively. The predestination is that if we walk in his ways, we get the blessing, and if we don't, we lose everything. But we have in front of us the re-offer, the chadashah, the renewed offer of the heritage of the entire empire, the entire family, offered to Abraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov. Same story, iterated time after time. Every list of words, you'll see the same story. The story in the stars, the Mazrot, you see the same story. The story in the 22 letters of the alphabet, it's always the same story, played out by Yeshua himself, being put to death, put in the tomb, and resurrecting to enforce our regard of that story. And here we are, right here at the Pesach, the resurrection. An interesting thing, a friend of mine was telling me that the Greek word for Happy Resurrection Day, I can't remember, I wrote it down, but it has something to do with Natsar. Can't remember how he phrased it. But the point is, even in Greek, it validates that the Zadi is the letter of the sprout of the resurrection. Even though there's no letter Zadi in Greek, the phonetics were used for the Greek word translated in English as resurrection. The truth is all throughout the world, throughout the universe. We're out right now. So that's the end of the story. Hey, Paul.
I should have. Heavenly Father, we just thank you that each day we get closer and nearer to your. Just thank God, Father, for revealing your will for us in this teaching here. Father, our desire is to be a pleasure to you in all of our ways, that we may be the blessing you want us to be for your name here on this earth at this time. The changes may be made through obedience in keeping your word and hearing your voice. Father, let it be in Yeshua, I ask. Amen.
Amen. And with that, the recording is over.
Amen.